LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
And we're live.
Welcome back to LaTB MMA. As always, I'm your host, E, here with the big C, living it up in the high life UFC golden era, back in full effect. We're getting fights every weekend till the year. What a weekend we've had. What unbelievable matchmaking. We got another weekend coming up. How have you been, Cheney, since we last met on Saturday talking about these fights?
You know, I am hanging in there. We have had excitement in our hood over the last 24 hours, but everybody's A-okay, so we are still living the American dream in these parts of the FLA.
So,
how are you?
Staying as busy as humanly possible, especially trying to get in some of these tape study cram sessions with so many fights. I mean, your boy's educated himself in a full schedule on top of work and then the podcast. I love it, but it's heavy. And then the world being a little crazy doesn't help.
Yeah. I would really like to go and play a game of Golden Tee, World. I even feel like I might go to church if they open them back up again. I'll look for any excuse. I'm like, what's open? What's open?
Oh, it's easy. I'm pretty sure it's easy to find one of those churches that's underground where you have to look at the old lady and be like, give me 2 biscuits and a sandwich. And she's like, all right, come back here.
The underground churches might be what has gotten us in these problems.
You're absolutely right there.
So what else is going on? We have another fight card.
Alistair Overeem, Augusto Sakai at heavyweight headlining it. It's going to be 10 bouts all the way around, but this day and age, I mean, we're holding on by the skin of our teeth that if it stays 10, it'll probably be 8 to 9. But it's okay when we're having 5 fights on Tuesday as well. Not even that. Not even, mind you, Tuesdays. I can barely get any homework done because I got to watch Dana White Contender Series, and I'm trying to do my paperwork. But, switch hitting kind of gets me, and all of a sudden I'm like, what was that? Damn it, I just wasted 2.5 hours. I just wasted 3 hours.
I haven't watched one Dana White Contender Series this season.
I've only missed like one of those, so living the dream over here. Living the dream. I mean, I'm absorbing as much as I can, and with that, it's really interesting that the MMA Twitterverse isn't really, for me, been that popping lately. Maybe it is because I have a really full schedule right now, but in general, I feel like calling fighters out right now and fighters getting in squabbles, the turnaround that they have that they could potentially fight, it doesn't seem like a buildup. The only fight I'm really looking forward to in the near future is Woodley Covington. Other than that, I couldn't tell you a headlining main event.
Woodley Covington, I'm excited about.
Adesanya Costa.
Adesanya Costa. Yeah, I don't know anything else even going on.
And we have fight cards every single week.
Is there anything even happening in the UFC right now?
There's going to go to Abu Dhabi here again soon. I think this is finally one of the last U.S. cards for a little while. We're going to have a lot of European fighters, so a lot of short notice replacements, debuts. The tape footage is going to be horrendous because it's going to be like crazy low-level guys coming in there, I feel like. But that's about it. I think Dana White talked at the Republican convention, if you want to talk about that at all. He was in there repping his boy Trump.
Oh, yeah, because of the sports thing.
For the second time.
Yeah, I think was he the guy who introduced him or just spoke? It's so weird.
No, he just spoke at the RNC.
Both of them were kind of strange because everything seemed either like DNC and RNC. People aren't here to talk about it, but or hear about it. I just thought it was crazy. They all seemed kind of pre-recorded or something. It wasn't like conventions. It was like this. It was like they had a Democratic national podcast and a Republican national podcast.
it felt like Dana White, everybody else was in a 3-piece suit in front of a podium. Dana White was in his office that we see on the embeds every single week with a shirt that he was just like, hold on, give me my sports Coke. Hold on, give me, fuck it. We're doing it live. Let's do it live.
Let's see.
And all of a sudden,
We'll do it live. No. We'll do it live. Fuck. We'll do it live. No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
It's so long.
So, not only am I a fan of Dana White with his gorgeous bald head, but World Winning Federation in there is also quite a fan. Thanks for being in the chats there. If you haven't caught that stream, that is premium electrifying content at its maximum. So be sure to like and subscribe. He is the champ for a reason. We're coming for that mini belt. You better be ready.
The mini belt.
So
the mini belt. It's so funny. Get a little mad mini belt. I wonder if you can trade in a certain few mini belts and get a big belt.
Like a ruby? Oh, that's awesome.
I'm going to put a little shelf here for my mini belt.
For the mini belts. Absolutely.
And then I'm going to take it down and put it over my shoulder. Oh, man. The Fight Pig Championship.
I'm going to try to have my animals wear my mini belt. Probably my cat should probably be able to wear it.
How did the Fight Pig Championships go this week? I know we recapped a little bit on the Fights of the Round Table. If y'all are looking for that, you can find it at the Backlog Network live on Twitch. Pretty fun show. But how'd your weekend go?
It went well as far as the FPC is concerned. Grampy Back came in first place. World Whining Federation got second. Yeah,
Grampy Back got first again?
Hard. Again. I
have a theory.
Coming in strong over here, the Big E in 3.
I like to make theories. My theory is Grammy Back is making those picks.
He must be listening to LaTB. He must be doing what most of our competitors are doing and listening to the stream and not telling anybody and making them hot picks.
It's rare we're both wrong. So I feel like if LaTB was my favorite TV show, like if it was Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and I knew us the way that I know Lisa Vanderpump and Kyle, I would be like, oh, I could make a perfect pick off these fools. Regardless of what we said, I would just know what we were saying.
Absolutely. But it is absolutely true there. Winning is talking about it that Grampy Back last season couldn't string a third place in a week together. He was all constantly at the bottom, and now he's starting off hot 2 out of 3 weeks coming in first place. I mean, really coming in hot. As we're talking about perfection, got to throw some love out to Evan Montgomery, new in the series here, but landing a perfect pick on the entire night. 10 for 10. Attaboy.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. 10 for 10. I think 3 times, maybe twice in my entire UFC life have I gotten a perfect card. And not perfect where I got all the types right, just perfect the amount of fighters, all the way through.
All maybe the right fighters.
Maybe twice. So to do it right in the second week of the FPC part 2, that's a big deal.
That is. Congratulations on that. But if there's nothing else, we got a 10-card bout that we got to get into. We already know who's headlining it. We know it's the big boys, but we always like to start at the bottom, at the toes of the problem, and that's going to be Brian Kelleher coming in against short notice replacement Kevin Navita. Quickstanding here. It isn't Navita. It's Nativa.
I'm not looking at it yet.
It sounds just like it, but it's pronounced a bit different. Coming out of Tempe, Arizona, the Arizona Combat Club, the 9-1 veteran pro has fought Andy Perez in LFA, Castrada.
Before we talk about it real
Tom.
quick, can I just go back
Sure.
into the Grampy back? Because I just reread World Winning Federation's thing that he didn't get anything right all season. And now he's in first place 2 weeks. I kind of think that's true. Do you think Evil Eddie's giving him his picks?
Shade.
Throw in the shade. I know. Who
Absolutely.
do you think he's listening to get good picks?
LaTB is what I said.
Okay. Fair enough. And if anyone's listening out there, if World Winning's still by his keyboard, do we sound okay? And take your time on that. Go through the fight.
So, as I'm saying, the short notice replacement coming out of Tempe, Arizona, 9-1, LFA standout. Only loss ever is via sound like shit. Is that Evil Twin on the boards in the comments? Jesus. So, he's just coming in. Decision type of fighter, got a couple knockouts in there, not a lot of power, will throw some body kicks in there, switches stances, but doesn't have a high amount of volume and not a lot of power. He will go to a shot, but it's really slow and telegraphed. Against Kelleher here, he's better on the ground, better standing, and fought so much better competition, been able to go hard 3, where Navida does start to slow up on the regional LFL scene and LFA scene, let alone the UFC. So a lot of people have a big reason to be the favorite here, Kelleher, for everything. We tell you guys to stay away from these usually, but I feel like Kelleher could be a solid play here throughout the night, seeing as he's got his opponent outmatched everywhere. Where do you think you're going to go with this one?
You know, I'm usually 100. I stay away from all the first fights of the night, but I love Boom. I'm all about Boom. I'm all about Brian Kelleher. I've made so much money with Brian Kelleher because even when he loses his fights, he usually hangs on enough and throws enough punches to like get me a 40-point, 50-point loss. I love Brian Kelleher. I always play him on my cards. He's always worth the money. So, yeah, I'm going to play him here. I'm going to play Boom, 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 Boom.
For 9,200 on DraftKings, minus 180 favorite is Brian Kelleher against Kevin's 7,000 plus 140 underdog. I could honestly see that being steamed up even more.
You know what's crazy? I don't think I've ever paid over 8,000 for Brian Kelleher.
You might be right there. It's super short notice as well. I mean, without a week, with no UFC caliber competition on there, where Kelleher is in there against the elite and only losing to the elite.
Here's one.
So,
do you think this is a gimme fight for Boom because he's such a company man? He's showing up on short notice fights, being there when he needs them, and he's fighting a guy that typically fights at 135.
I don't think it's going to be an issue.
No, do you just think it's going to be even easier for him to win? He's going to be even bigger in there.
That's why I feel like the line could even be a little more spread out to that easily minus 200. It's minus 180, and I'm like, I don't see where this guy, other than a decision, gets out of here. So Kelleher's super live for the finish, not only on the ground, but striking here. So he's just got too many check marks, if not all of them.
Who
really didn't see too many spots where he's going to get in danger.
How do you have it going?
I got Kelleher. I had decision, but I think I got to put my money where my mouth is. And I see a submission. If Kelleher gets this to the ground, he just looks like he's so much more comfortable. And that's where he's really looked the best out of all of his wins. It's always with that guillotine front headlock choke series, wearing guys out and then, darcing them up even if he needs to.
So finish Kelleher. I got Kelleher D right now, but I think handedly
I
D
had
all
decision.
3 rounds.
I got submission round number 2. I could move that to 1.
Are you partaking in the Cahal tonight?
I am.
What are you drinking?
I am. I got a Pendleton whiskey.
I have not partaken in the spirits to lower my vibration in quite some time, but I got a little Buffalo Trace tonight. I needed it after the day that I had. I would go into it more specifically. If you're a friend of mine out there, I'll shout it out or talk about it. But I don't even know if it's finished yet. I don't even want to talk about
We
it.
might be on the news. Just saying, we might be on the news.
I just wanted you to know for reals, if the news trucks came down the street, I had already planned my whole and I actually text your girl and I was like, "Oh, I got to get it ready to do my save the children shit outside." And she said, "I got to warm up to say fuck her right in the pussy." And I was like, "Damn, Trump." It made me laugh out
He didn't
loud.
say grab her. It didn't say grab her.
Yeah, hers is even worse. She took it
So
to the next
that's
level,
awesome.
but it just,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
guys knew his girl, she does not say that kind of stuff. So it really, like, I needed it this morning.
Yeah, it was a little tense, definitely. But a way we can soothe that pain is going to be with some extracurricular violence in the octagon. Small cage is acquired, is enforced. Little Cage has just been getting us a ton of finishes, not only in the Contender Series, but I feel like throughout these nights, last weekend as well, we had a ton of finishes, ton of submissions, and I feel like we've seen a lot of that in Vegas. So a lot of these, I feel like decisions that I usually would play out when the guys when there's a big advantage on the ground specifically, I feel like I'm going to be more likely to start to bet those guys a little more inside the distance. But nor here nor there at 135 pounds. We got Cole Smith coming in against Hunter Azur. Azur coming off of his first loss ever to Brian Boom Kelleher, left hook 3 months ago, where he was finished cleanly. Prior to that, he beat Katona, beating the Contender Series as well, having a good who is a manager in there, Azur being an MMA lab guy. I do feel like he cross trains at elevation. He's a TJ Dillashaw guy as well. So really surprised that going back and watching that Kelleher fight, I mean, the gas tank is what did it for Azur. He was done after that first round. He did come in a little short notice, even had a replacement or two in there. So that's what set up the finish. Also, Kelleher going to the body hard and getting in some good grappling exchanges. I just think that the hype was on Azur a lot more. And now in the UFC, I think he's just going to be a lot more of a decision fighter than a real nasty finisher in there. Cole Smith, though, 7-1, also coming off of his first loss in the UFC ever to Miles John, split decision where he got out grappled prior to that, beating Mitch Gagnon a year ago. Cole Smith is a big 135er in there, gonna be 3 years older. He does have 3 inches, but he doesn't have the arm length, but he uses his weight well. He really wears his guys out and he packs a punch even in that third round. So stylistically, I think there's a lot of hesitation for me here against Azur because Azur will, if he starts to gas the way did in that Kelleher fight, Smith has the power in the third round to be able to finish him. But Smith can get neutralized in just really boring grappling. But Azur's kind of been at the outside picking fighter. I am not comfortable with the line minus 205 for Azur, even though I'm picking him decision. I think Cole Smith is super live here, and I would be way more comfortable paying minus 130, 125. Cole Smith is live, and for the finish at that. So I could take some shots on Smith here. Who do you think you're taking out of this one?
I think it's a desperation move on Azur's part to go down and wait. I don't understand why you'd make a move even further down. He looked like a big guy at 145. I think Cole Smith, in a weird way, like Brian Kelleher, underrated dude in my book. He's one of the like little dark horses I'd put in if you could make a fantasy for the year for UFC stars. He'd be one of the people that no one would pick. No one would want Cole Smith, and I'd be like, I'll take him because no one sees it. He's a little dark horse, the same way as my boy Boom. I got Cole Smith decision. I think he's a well-rounded grinder. I think he comes just as hard in the third round. I think your boy Azur is gonna gas. This is a good line for me. I'll have to stay away from Kelleher because he's such a favorite, but I'll be going with Cole Smith.
I like what you're saying. I mean, I'm right there. I can even see myself switching depending on weigh-ins. Also, something I didn't like to bring up that we tend to run with a big narrative here. If you've been knocked out, especially the first time ever, take 8 months, take a year.
Don't go down
Don't
and
get
wait.
in there 3 months. Don't go down and wait. Don't go down there in 3 months. All right, I'm going Cole Smith. You convinced me, Cheney. You had a great argument there.
Yeah,
So
3 months.
I
Let
got
me go more dehydration.
absolutely in there. So give me Cole Smith as a huge underdog there. Again, I'm not comfortable with that minus 205. The line is off there against Smith. Give me Smith TKO round number 2.
Wow.
Dirty one. Dirty one, dirty one. That one's fun. It don't matter. That's fight pick. We're getting to the fight pick championship.
Yeah, so get it all out now. Get it
so,
all out now.
so then we have a really interesting dynamic at 265 pounds. So this is definitely
He
a
said get it
one for
out
the
now, so I was like, okay.
for the ages. Marco Rodrigo de Lima coming in against Alexander Romanov, the debuter. King Kong in here is a perfect 11-0. The Moldovan 29-year-old is coming in with all sorts of accolades. He's one of those, who did we just see who got a nasty knockout the other week that I told you? Dawkins. That I was like, hey guys, Dawkins is quick. He's got fun hands. He's going to beat some lower level guys. He's really athletic. Got that one right. Romanov is going to be one of these guys that's super athletic and looks like he should be a 205er. He's just like very, even though he's as wide as a refrigerator, he still has that belly fat, but he moves incredibly well. He's got a very clashing type of style where there's going to be a lot of headbutts with Romanov's fights. And I'd even say watch out for it in this fight against Lima. But he just, when he goes for his double leg, he puts his forehead right in the middle of your chest. So when the guys duck in, he just flat out hits them right on the chin. But he'll usually go right to full mount. And I've seen him get a scarf hold, a guillotine, not a guillotine, a forearm choke with just pressure, a rear naked choke with no hooks in. So he's fighting bums of bums in here. He's getting submissions against guys that are tapping due to pressure instead of actual skill. So you got to take that into account somewhat. But I have seen him get into those second and third rounds before, even though some of them are bums. And against DeLima here, he's somebody that I've been trying to fade for a very long time, moved up from 205, has got a glass jaw, but good Muay Thai, has got a couple wins wrestling against horrid, horrid fights in there. I mean, some of the worst tape you could ever go back in there and watch. Last beating Ben Sassoli, the Combat Wombat TKO. I like Sassoli. DeLima, when he lets that right hand go, it does have a ton of power, and Romanov has never felt anything like that. So I think the line's right. I like Romanov in this spot to get the TKO, especially if it gets to the ground, because Lima will give up, especially if it gets to his back. But striking, I gotta be a little hesitant. That first minute, first 2 minutes, Lima's ultra live. If it gets to the ground at all, it's Romanov's fight. I got TKO round number 1. I think you gotta have exposure to both sides of this. I think it's a finish, regardless. Inside the distance, you got to pick one side. I'm going to have a lot less DeLima than I will Romanov. Who do you think you're going to be taking in this one?
Bum, bum, bum. I think
So,
we will, hello.
Howdy, howdy.
breaking up the party right now. We were just talking about DeLima versus Romanov in only the third fight of the night so far.
Oh wow, you guys are still extremely early. I'm a little pressed for time, and I figured I'd make a quick. It's been a while since I've gotten to give you guys some solid picks.
You
Yeah,
were
now
hiding
since your
out.
last losing week.
You're loud and what?
Hiding out from your last losing week.
Oh my goodness! No, last week we both did as horrible as each other. Weakneck actually took the show. 2 weeks consecutive to that, I've had some of the poorest showing I've had all year. And really, it just the cards changed so drastically last minute that I blame it on that and solely that.
It's kind of fair. The cards have been a little
I mean,
garbage.
Oh, a little garbage. They've been the worst. So absolutely, I'm not quite sure. Like you guys just said, which fights you're on for right now,
I'm kind
but
of liking this Chael P. Sonnen look for you of driving and doing the podcast.
oh, really? Well, I'm on my way to coach. Yeah, what is it? Our 10-year-old girls soccer club. So
Awesome.
unlike Manuel, I like to contribute to our community, not shiver in fear for whatever miscreants he may be hanging around or whatever disheveled area. I don't have to deal with that. I have to worry about getting kids to soccer practice on time and then making sure they.
What a riveting life. So back to the fights. What are some of your dirty, nasty picks that you want to talk about before you got to go do all of your parental duties?
Well, it depends. I didn't get an opportunity this week due to other obligations like a working job again that you might not know of. But um, I just wanted to hit some high points. I wasn't able to get my statistics out or compare. I just got a couple fun fights that I haven't even looked at lines. That's how busy I've been. But the who is that?
Get to it, Junior. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm doing several things right now.
Yeah, thinking and driving.
Oh yeah, Peralta. I can't pronounce the dang name. Is it Peralta or Pineda?
Pereira
Pineda,
versus Imadaev.
Pereira. Exactly. That fight right there, I think is just going to be a highlight fight. They're both knockout artists. They both can't hardly make it past the opening round, and I think Omagayoff is being fed as a showcase fight. I think both of them can put each other out with ease, but I really think this is a fed fight for Peralta to showcase his unique style, and I think it's going to be one of the funner fights of the night. I'm not saying it's going to be technically a fantastic fight. I think it's just going to be more of a shocking
Knockout
awe,
reel.
like, hey, oh yeah, absolutely. One way or the other, I feel one of them will get put away. Now, because I say that, it's probably going to go to the nasty decision that Pineda lost this last time, but I just think that fight in
He lost
itself.
DQ, by the way.
He got TQ'd?
He got DQ'd for illegal knee on the grounded opponent.
Oh, whoa, Diego Sanchez. Sorry, it was the fight before that where he took a dude on like 24 hours notice and then
Right,
lost to a guy.
Tristan Connolly.
Yeah,
Do some research, kid.
He cried like a
I'm
bitch
driving.
all the way to the octagon and danced and shit.
Oh yeah, Conley drove or what is it? Was crying and losing it. And hey, you know what though? He weathered a storm. I don't know that we've seen him in there since, but nonetheless, that was one of just a fight I'm eager to see this weekend. There's a couple other undercards that are openers that I'm hoping to see, but with the way fights have been playing out this last 3 weeks, I mean, I'm literally not holding my breath for anything. And it's partially why I haven't really focused up until weigh-ins, and even after weigh-ins, can I really legitimately commit to picks because they're falling out that bad.
It's horrible.
Agreed.
It's costing me at least a card every Draftkings that something gets messed up on it, and I'm like, shit, I'm going to get a 0 before the fight even starts.
The unfortunate thing is it's an hour before the fight card starts.
Yup. And I will give credit where credit's due. If it wasn't for Emmanuel shooting me a message, I'm usually doing something. Hey, check your DraftKings. This card fell off. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, thanks. But I mean, I might be 13 cards deep in $1 tournaments, and then I'm scouring through my cards, trying to figure out if I got the guy or not on it. And it just makes for not even wanting to pay attention up until fight day.
It does make it hard.
Okay, so back to the fights. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does make it hard. One that I know you're going to want to talk about, their evil twin, is going to be Thiago Moises versus Jalen Turner. I know you got an opinion on that one.
Oh man, I do. I'm definitely torn between. I really enjoy Jalen Turner. His reach, size for the division is hard to be matched. But Moise is absolutely a game fighter, and unfortunately, I'm going with Moises on this one, or however it's pronounced, solely because Turner is good and he has the length, he has the reach, he's trained with Jones, all this stuff. But I don't think he has shown the ability to keep it off the ground long enough, and I believe that he does get subbed. Um, I hope he doesn't. I'm a fan of Turner, but I think he's getting taken down, and I think he gets subbed because I don't think his takedown defense is quite there yet.
Nice. That's definitely a not too big of an underdog, or definitely a solid favorite you're going in there with. Anything else profiled? It is only a 10-carder, so not too many options on here, and it really is one of the lower cards of all of these weeks put together, I feel like, coming up this Saturday.
Do you have any weird picks of any
Absolutely.
plus money?
Like I said, I really even haven't had a chance to
Oh,
look at
Steve
it.
Menafield.
I think I'll. Who's Metafield? Oh, before I had him before. I'm still sticking with Metafield. I still think OSP is just past his prime, and Alonzo showed in his Devin Clark fight. He showed he's able to keep it standing. He showed that he could get it back up if he needed to. Devin Clark, his grinding style is to take you down and try to hold you down. So as much as Metafield might look like garbage for gassing, I still give him credit at his ability to keep that fight upright when that was Clark's sole intention. That coupled with his power and ability to hit hard, and OSP just being a former shell of himself, and he's still a top. I don't even want to say top 10, but he hasn't been showing great. His veteran savviness is getting him through a lot of fights. But I think if he can't get this fight down, I think Alonzo carries, and he showed he carried his power clean into later rounds. And I think he puts out OSP.
Same.
All
I don't
right.
know how I'm going to go with it. But before you head out, Overeem Sakai.
Oh, again, this is very much so in line with what I just talked about with Alonzo and OSP. I gotta give, even though Sakai isn't uh, isn't a hot new prospect. I've actually had my eye on Sakai since Bellator when he came in, and the success he had at Bellator. But I think he is new blood in the division. Overeem has even said he's got limited time left, and he wants to try to do what he can with the most of it. Um, I don't like Sakai's inability for finishing power, especially his last fight. He got a TKO doctor stoppage, but it was not an impressive victory for me. But I just can't trust Overeem at this point. And this is more of a fade on Overeem than it is a solid, or I guess a confident pick in Sakai. It's mainly a fade on Overeem for me.
So you're having a new blood kind of night.
I am actually. I absolutely. Well, but if you look at what the UFC is trying to do right now, is they're in that transition period with the Contender Series, with the lack of star power they have. Who do they have left? John Jones? That guy doesn't fight. You know, Cody Garbrandt. He's getting on the cusp. He gets hit a couple more times extra hard on the chin. He's gonna be just another freaking Holsworth. Like it the new blood has to be re-entered, and they're setting, at least to me, the UFC is setting up these bouts to try to promote, to try to find a guy. The gap is getting pretty big. At least me personally, you're fighting a bunch of guys that are in their mid to late 30s up against a bunch of 20-year-old guys. There's a very broad range there that's not filled in.
I agree.
Definitely
Well,
a lower level card this weekend. So definitely pass on a lot of big betting. Don't think you're going to make a lot of parlays because it's going to be sketch field for a reason. Again, they're
Is this
making
a
names.
save your
This is
money
what they.
night?
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I say just tune in to watch some fights. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a good opportunity to just get some MMA in. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And, yeah, it's. I do think, though, what I was saying briefly with the divide, I think the lower promotions like Bellator, like LFA, and I know LFA is kind of a feeder, but they're picking up a lot of top talent in between. And I think the UFC is having a real hard time with that.
I agree. I think the UFC spent so much time for a little while on their big guys, on their John Jones and their Conor McGregors and all this, and they kind of lost all these underlings for a while, and so now they're in desperate mode, having to pull guys from the Contender Series and then throw them on fight nights and main cards all of a sudden in 2 fights, and I think you're seeing these once undercarded events in Bellator, LFA, all the ones you mentioned, become like, oh, these guys are legitimate. They've gone against better talent than a Contender Series guy with one shit fight in the UFC.
Oh, 100%. And with the guys on the Contender Series, the crazy thing is I mean, I don't want to say it, but they have padded records.
Yeah. So
And
that's nothing new to MMA.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that
I
happens
know.
all.
Well,
Talk about Bellator.
The UFC used to have a higher criteria for their guys. They like to avoid guys with padded records, but now they're doing the Floyd Mayweather where everybody's trying to chase a freaking perfect record, and it's just, I think it's a bad look for sports in general. You need that adversity to be able to grow as a complete martial or a complete athlete, regardless if it's MMA or not. You have to taste some of that negativity to ultimately stand out as a great. Michael Jordan wouldn't have been as good as he was if he didn't lose a couple games and have that fire.
I think we can all agree Sugar Sean did not lose, though, mentally. He
Oh
won.
my goodness.
But I actually think that's a good point in life. I think the getting a trophy for showing up isn't necessarily great, and having this huge padded record and having this idea of being the undefeated fighter, like that's great for what Floyd Mayweather is. I think if you try to have that kind of UFC style of I'm going to avoid getting hit, you're Elias Theradoa, and you're a ring card boy.
Oh, you're turning him on there. Watch out, he's driving.
No, not at all. It's I'm actually where I need to be, and I got a couple more minutes, but yeah, I don't know that everybody gets a trophy, but God, Sean O'Malley, just Ben Askren. Not that I'm a fan, but he had it right. He's walking on a freaking hip after the fact, and O'Malley's claiming he's not hurt, and no X-rays and MRIs showed that his foot was fine. What it was, hey, Chito showed up, and I called that fight. I called it with a room full of people. I said, O'Malley's going to break his foot or injure his foot because he's a vegan and because he quit. And we saw it that night.
You fucking You listened to the show the whole week before, because that's exactly what I said on the breakdown.
No, dude, are you kidding me?
You can go back to the tape. You can go back to the tape.
Well, we have conversations, and when we have those conversations, you take my stuff knowing that I wasn't going to be, and you freaking boom, you give it to the people.
I said it a whole 5 days before you did on air. How did I take it? You said it right before the fight, supposedly. So you're sounding like right now. Real baby back.
Did Emmanuel go over his life-threatening experience this morning?
He lives 2 doors down from me.
How did you guys not kick that door in yourselves and grab that guy by the scruff of his neck and bring him out for everybody to see?
I didn't feel life-threatened.
Because it was a hoax.
I just
it was a
felt like I
hoax.
couldn't get to work.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like,
I was just
all
more
right,
stressed
staying
out that I
inside.
had to call my boss and be like, hey, there's this situation going on outside my house and there's cop cars in my driveway and I can't pull out.
Literally in the driveway.
And
You know,
when I looked
at
out,
one
they
point,
said, get back in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
at one point, Emmanuel used to be a Marine.
I rolled open
No,
my
once a
windows
Marine,
and I
always
played.
a Marine devil, dog. Once a Marine, always a Marine devil.
No, because a Marine, you would have been. It wouldn't have mattered. Butt ass naked with a shotgun in that dude's house, getting them on the ground, ready to go.
I don't know what you do for fun. That's not how it works. If he comes in my
Butt-ass
house,
naked.
then we can roll. Then we can absolutely roll. But no, I'm not looking for trouble. Those days are over.
Save
You
it.
guys got soft.
I feel like on Braveheart when everybody's running and Mel Gibson's like hold. That's what I feel like in my life right now. I'm in somebody like hold. Because something's gonna be like go. But when I was looking at the tanks roll down my street, I'm like, well, okay. At least I can see what I'm.
I guess we got tanks in our neighborhood.
Oh man, that's. I live in Portland. I don't frequent Portland or at all. Don't go in
Just at
downtown
nighttime.
Portland. Oh man, no, never. I'd be on a newsreel. No way.
No, you gotta stay out of.
But naked in a towel with a shotgun, apparently.
Like I said, I'd be on a newsreel.
A dad towel.
There's no way.
Dad.
Oh yeah.
A dad.
No.
They tuck their towel with the lightest little bit because it's like, whoop, and you're like, Dad, tighten the knot on
And it's
the
over
towel.
the belly button. It's over the belly button where it sits.
Yeah.
But that's where it's supposed to sit.
Yeah. You and Daniel Cormier. So.
Yeah. Daddest man's on the planet, dude. That's what it is.
Absolutely. All right. So we got an entire card to essentially keep on breaking down. Unless you got anything else.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Sorry, it was a little hasty there. I'd like to prep if I can for next week. It's been crazy here.
I'd rather you save it for the big fight cards when you have time. This one, it's almost like we should all probably be coaching a team instead of watching this card.
Absolutely. Emmanuel in general just needs a life coach. So after I'm done
I'm a
here,
life coach.
feel free. You're what?
I coach my own life.
Life.
No, it's pretty sweet.
You got a losing score, buddy.
Depends on the eye of the beholder there.
I guess. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of your night. Best of luck with the picks. I'll try to break down some more stuff next week, and I'll throw up my picks, even though they probably won't hold because the fight will change. The fight card will change 3 more times before then.
I know, it's so true. So make sure you're following you where?
At Twitter is one, but I will be sure to tag LaTB and Zoltanite, whatever it is. So, all right, you guys have a good night.
Oh man, and I was about to go into all of the COD saves on. You don't understand how much he relies on me to try to win at COD ever.
Are you getting better at COD?
Oh, a lot better, where I'm pretty much owning the team and being the captain of the team and pretty much getting the best KD rate on the entire squad.
Oh shit, it's getting real. It's getting real.
Absolutely real. Living a fat crew out there. So that's a whole nother topic. So definitely the big Z rolling it deep out here. We were talking about freaking DeLima versus Romanov, 8,400 for the debuter Romanov. DeLima's going to be 7,800. The favorite. No way. Let me get the real lines. It's saying Lima's the favorite right now, but I think those are outdated. Let me see the actual real time scores here. De Lima being the minus one or the plus 110 underdog, minus 130 Romanov. So for that debuting fighter, Cheney, do you think you're going to be playing Romanov at 8,400 anywhere?
I hate DeLima. I don't know if I've ever gone with him, and anytime I have gone with him, he's lost. So all of his losses are probably the times I went with him. I don't know anything about Romanov except my wife watches the show about Vikings called. It's on Netflix. Everyone, it's like I don't even want to something Kingdom, The Last Kingdom. This big bitch, King Kong, Alexander Romanov, looks like the lead Viking. So I'm going to go with him purely on that reason. And for my massive hate for DeLima, I have Romanov submission round 1.
He could do it.
I picture a front choke. Like he's going to hurt him. And then just, what's that one called? Under the, like right in the esophagus
guillotine?
Front. Yeah.
Or
like standing guillotine.
Guillotine. There's also all sorts of go-go chokes in there. But Olenek versus Maurice Green, that scarf hold where he got him by compressing his chest and lifting his head up, Romanov has a couple of those in his career. So super greasy fight. I got Romanov TKO round number 1. As I'm saying, I'm going to have a 10% exposure of Lima, probably in that 30 to 40% on Romanov. But again, that's going to be in like 3 to 4 cards over the weekend. Not playing heavy anywhere on these. At 125 pounds, we have returning Montana De La Rosa coming in against Viviana Araujo. Araujo coming off of a big upset loss. 8-2 fighter losing to Jessica
I'm not
Evil
saying anything
Eye.
political, but Araujo look a little like your girl Kamala Harris in the picture on Tapology.
They could be cousins for sure.
She looks like a more attractive version. She could be Kamala Harris's daughter.
Not a bad thing, depending on what side you're on.
I'm not
a
even
bad
trying to
thing at
say
all.
anything political. This is purely featural of her. They look similar.
Well, maybe if Harris can scrap, it'll be good for her because she's going to need it. The 33-year-old here, Araujo, can scrap. The thing is that her gas tank looked a little suspect in her last fight against Ai. She really gassed after that first round hard. And Jessica Ai, with her really, I feel like, lack of volume just to output Araujo there. It was a short notice replacement for Araujo, and she did have some trouble in the travel, but it was a big gas there, and she wasn't ever in danger of getting finished, but she just was flat out getting outworked. And you know how we feel about the Evil Eye here. We hate that bitch. So on to De La Rosa being 11-5, having a mixed record, almost 500, coming off of a win to Barella, who I absolutely hate in there, and last losing to Andrea Lee in a decision loss where she got outworked the whole time. So De La Rosa, and Jessica, I was always that bad. Always. She just had a big following. Here we go. I is just one of the best champs of all time.
I thought Jessica I looked all right that fight. I thought that was
She
of her better looking fights. I thought she came out there and had a good game plan. I thought she showed good ring IQ, and I had her in that fight, so I watched it less biased than you.
Well, it was a great call because she was a big underdog there. But here, the ability of keeping the fight where she wants it, Rosa will not have that luxury where her takedown defense isn't the best. She wants to get it to the ground, but that she has a good active guard game. But against Araujo, she's just shown on the ground that she has solid takedown or submission defense in there. And striking wise, that's where I feel like there's the biggest discrepancy in this fight. Araujo hits with a ton more power than Rosa. Rosa will even grab behind the neck and jump to guard when she's starting to lose by a lot. But I see why it's minus 195 for Arujo. She's just the only real potential is on the ground, but I think Arujo still beats Rosa there. So I see her outworking her, outpowering, and outgrappling her. I got a decision though. Think this is still going to be a mediocre scorer. Give me that decision, Arujo. Who are you taking in this one?
Della Rosa, Della Rosa. She's younger. She has some improvement level to give me. I've never liked anything Arujo's ever shown me in the UFC, which is why I went with Jessica I, even though, as World Winning would say, she became a self-chanting weirdo. Like, she did,
True.
but I think she was a little bit of a head case, and maybe she needed that after that weird ass knockout with Shevchenko. That, like, I just replayed it in my head, and I was so glad to see it when it happened. But it gave me a little bit of humble for her, even though she didn't speak. She was just flat out. But I think Della Rosa's better on the ground. Her age, she has something. I think the Andrea Lee fight is the highest caliber that either of the women have gone against. Arujo got worked by Ai everywhere. I also have always kind of thought that Arujo has been overrated. Yeah, I think it's an easy one for me. I'm going to go with Della Rosa decision. I think
So we got a
could I change
dirty
it to
split here as
submission?
far as right now I got a decision the other way. So technically a dirty split. The line, as I see him, I do feel like it's
Elevation fight
justified
team.
here for Arujo with her husband,
No,
Mark
not
De La Rosa.
Arujo. Della Rosa, or yeah, for Arujo.
Or I mean,
Wait, for Della Rosa.
no,
Elevation.
De La Rosa. She is
I'm gonna
her
say it.
husband
This
though is
sounds a little racist, but whatever. Arujo does look like her last name should be Della Rosa.
they're both well, Brazilian and Mexican, there's a difference. So
I didn't say that. I didn't say they were the same.
there is a difference. So we love Elevation Fight Team, and that usually on itself. Look at the only one who shit the bed lately out of Elevation is
Who?
Austin Hubbard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the cross ties with Azur. Azur, who's earlier on the card, does train at Elevation. I guess it's just not his main camp right now. And it could be. But yeah, that's the only other one. Dotson coming out as the biggest underdog of all time lately. I think you're not wrong there at all. So MMA Mark showing up in the chat right before the Fight Pick Championships, trying to get some of them hot information right before the main event card starts. Before that, though, almost missed the Draftkings. Real quick on this one, you're going to end up paying for De La Rosa 7,300 as the underdog against 8,900 for Arujo. I see a decision. You see a decision. The value's on Rosa. I don't see any value on Arujo there. So I'm going to probably stay away from this one in general.
This is Buddy's favorite fight of the night. He always loves a good lady fight.
So doing what you got to do in there. Who do you think you're going to have any DraftKings exposure to this fight since you are picking the underdog in De La Rosa?
I'll play Della Rosa on one or two. I'll probably only play like 3 or 4 cards this week on DraftKings. I'll put Della Rosa on 1 or 2. I can't go too heavy in the paint because I don't picture being a high scorer. If I picture somebody getting a flash sub in the first 10 minutes of the fight, I do picture it being Della Rosa. I don't see either fighter getting a flash knockout. So then it goes to decision, and it's how high output is. I think they both could be kind of safe bets where it's 70 points, 50 points. Even though they're not two people I'm high on normally,
Right.
I just think it could get to that sloppy output that they give the weird significant strike numbers where it's like, look at, she threw 53 punches and they're all significant on DraftKings.
It's really interesting, especially with all of the late replacements and all of the short notice fights coming out last week, specifically the cards that won had Lamas and Algio on it. They stacked a 3-rounder and it ended up winning the entire card. So untimes or uncertain times comes up for uncertain cards. You got to do some of that crafty ass shit in there to get there.
I don't think I'm going to have any problem this week. I feel like I pick every underdog except for Brian Kelleher. I can afford Boom everywhere.
Absolutely. So then we go into the headlining preliminary bout with Bartosz Fabinski coming in against Andre Mizu. Mizu being 19-4, coming off of a win against Antonio Arroyo in a close decision 9 months ago. Prior to that, being on the Contender Series twice, winning via submission finally a second time before being asked on. The 30-year-old out of Brazil comes out of the Tata Fight team. We know some of those guys. Formerly, Oliveira was there. Who else is over there? I feel like Tiago Trinaldo and a couple other of those. Patrick Aline is in there, so some good level in there. But Mean Use doesn't blow you out of the water anywhere. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. Formidable submission defense, formidable submissions, but his takedowns aren't the best, and his striking, even though it's good and he has power and he wings into it a little bit much, there is openings for takedowns against him, and off of his back, he's not necessarily the best against a good grappler. He can get kind of held down a bit, even though he did that a lot of his other matches. Now at the UFC against really good grinders, I feel like he's going to have a lot of stylistic hard matchups on the ground. And striking, again, nothing that really sticks out to me. So here in the Butcher Fabinski, here's a guy 15-3, little later in the tooth, longer in the tooth at 34 years old. He's coming in off of a win at Cage Warriors, the Darren Stewart, which was a UFC fight that was canceled, and Cage Warriors allowed them to fight. So technically, it's a UFC bout in my eyes because it was about to be a
The
UFC bout.
dentist.
Nothing changed. I like the dentist.
I
You
do
know me.
too. I didn't
picked
think
him
they
in a
should
lot
have
of
cut
fights.
him. Did they cut him?
Absolutely. No, they didn't.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they did.
Never
He's got a
mind.
fight
Fake-
coming up
fake
against
news.
Holland. The dentist in Holland are fighting next. That's one that just got booked. So either way, Fabinski, though, he's a grinder. He likes to wrestle a lot. He uses his striking to get to the takedown, has a good double leg, switches to a single well. Once he's on the ground, he's heavy on top. And he did that against a good wrestler or a serviceable wrestler, which I think Stewart is. So in that fact, I feel like stylistically, there's 30-27 Fabinski, but I do think it turns into a big grind. Give me the minus 160 favorite. Bartosz Fabinski in this fight. Who are you going to be taking in this one?
I am easily going with Fabinski decision. I do think Muniz is enough of a fighter and to stick around the entire fight. But I do think the Butcher is going to add up them points. It's kind of easy for me. Even though I'm not going to go super heavy with Fabinski just because I don't know him that well, but I respect the shit out of Darren Stewart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that does play a big role in that one. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the decided favorite here, 8,600 for Fabinski against Muniz, 7,600. Fabinski's the type of guy who got 6 takedowns against Darren Stewart. So I feel like he can get 6 easily here. If not, it's going to be 3, but there's going to be a lot of ground and pound and position and grappling passes for Fabinski in this one. So he's the side out of the two, but it is going to be a little steep for me. I'm going to be limited only on the Fabinski side as far as DraftKings.
Heard.
Any exposure there?
Same. I'm all with you on that one.
So then we get into the main card, also better known as the Fight Picks Championships, what we're all here for all the mini belts in the planet. The number 1 mini belt holder at the end of the season is going to be Arabian Supreme SmackDown all over everyone's candy asses. So LaTB's been showing up hard. We've been in that top 3 all 3 weeks, consistently up there. But again, we need to start knocking down these number 1 spots. But the competition's gotten a whole lot better.
Well, you know what? Last year, I was a little playtime. Like, started out, and then like Ricky and Buddy came in hot early in the season, and it was a little playtime for me. We still were using the whole card to bet on Draftkings more. The more that we've been doing the Fight Pick Championships, I've been leaning heavier into the main card. And since then, Draftkings has come out with a main card only, and I've been finding myself in the money more, especially when you finish in the top 3 on the Fight Pick Championship, just so as you guys know out there. And these are for people even not in the Fight Pick Championship, but you hear us talk about it all the time. I would even say if you finish in the top 4 on Fight Pick Championship, you're almost guaranteed to be somebody that finishes in the money on DraftKings if you play those main card fights. What would you say on your hot nights? Have you been doing okay on the DK?
I have definitely started to make a bit of profit. I had those two garbage weeks where it would only be one opponent, one player that really knocked me down. But in general, it's been tough just because of, again, this COVID world we're in and all of the craziness. People testing positive and not, and eating and missing weight. I mean, weigh-ins, it's hard to find weigh-in footage on some of these things live on the day. Like, it definitely is something that's fluid in here. So I think that everybody's stepping up their game to an extent, in whatever way they can. So it's fun.
You know what
it's
I will
normal.
also say, in my contrarian brain, every single one of the weeks that I really shit on the card going into it are the ones they surprise me. And every single one of the cards that I'm like, I can't wait, has been like this watching it.
Truth. 6 or like what? How many submissions last week? That was crazy finishes. Like, I don't care who the names are. Just give me finishes.
Well, think even about, like, look at DC Stipe. You want to see that fight again?
No.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like all those fight cards that you were super stoked about them coming and you couldn't wait for, and those kind of cards have all kind of shit the bed. Whereas all the fight cards that just seem like sleeper fight cards have really shown out. So I'm hoping this fight card will show out. And I heard you talking about it with Evil Twin going further up on the card, and we're about to get into it with the Fight Pick Championship. There are a couple cards, including Fabinski and Muniz, that excite me a little bit. That I'm like, those could be sleeper fun fights.
Definitely. And one that you are, I'm assuming, talking about is at 155 pounds, Thiago Moises versus Jalen Turner. This is easily a fight of the night contender in here. Super sneaky grappling on both sides of it. The Tarantula Turner in here has not only a fun nickname because he looks like a tarantula with an incredibly long 75-inch reach at 6'3", 155, crazy dimensions, but he bred tarantulas, or he had like 1,000 tarantulas at a time and was like selling them on Craigslist and stuff.
Yo.
Creepy. Yeah.
Ugh.
Like he was sleeping with boxes all over his house of tarantulas. And I'm like, all right. Well,
Ugh.
to an extent, the really interesting thing that I know from some elite sports wrestling, maybe there was a theory at times that I've heard that the guys that win state, the guys that are at the top, the guys that are El Cucuy are always a little weird because they don't do anything. But
Don't you think the genius of any craft, no matter what it is, if you're like, probably Beethoven was probably a weirdo, probably Nikola Tesla was a weirdo. He was like in love with his pigeon.
Pigeons.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, like probably everybody that was a genius in their sport was probably slightly a weirdo.
So Jalen Turner might be the next Nikola Tesla is what I'm getting at.
You're like, oh, he got a pet pigeon. So is Mike Tyson, because I call him by his proper name, Michael Tyson. Is he genius? right? Top of his craft. Genius for what he does.
I don't necessarily think so because he was one of those people that the master was as much to do with the disciple, and we really saw when the master wasn't there how it eventually fell off. He's given a specific ability, specific traits, but as far as technical ringcraft, Mike Tyson got in there and brawled towards the end, especially after his cuss days. He really got away from the fighting and worried about just throwing hands. And that'll work. But when he got in real fights, just as Tedley Atlas says, he is 0-5 in real fights. When a guy was able to take his shot, Mike Tyson didn't know how to think on the fly.
I respectfully disagree, and I think Mike Tyson showed genius inside the rink, or what is that called? Yeah.
Hey, you want a hot pick? You want a real motherfucking hot pick that not a lot of people are picking?
What?
Give me Roy Jones Jr. as an underdog in that fight.
Against Mike
Give me
Tyson?
money all day on that. Against Mike Tyson.
I didn't even know that fight was really happening.
Oh yeah, it's still on.
There are things, I don't think Mike Tyson was when people say the best of all time or whatever they consider, he isn't in my top 3, but for me, my
That's
like,
why. I agree with that.
but for me, my genius level of like boxing is like, 20 dudes.
But he's a showstopper. He is the showstopper of showstoppers.
It's like 20 dudes. But like MMA, because of how much I love it, I might put my genius level with fucking 500 dudes.
And for as far as anyone else, just look up Salvador Sanchez. Do some study on that motherfucker. God, that was a beautiful. That's where Chavez got all of his from. But that's nor here nor there. That's so many other fun sports that
I'm a
we have
Sugar Ray
to
Leonard.
look afterwards.
That is my fave.
Put your money on Roy Jones.
Faves. A Sugar Ray Leonard.
Classic. Definitely a great vault to look back on. And Roberto Duran, of course, in there. And, of course, Willie Pep. Always got to go back to that Pep step. So Turner could be one of those guys, but he's really just shown the lack of range at times. Even though he's really long, he doesn't use his length much, and his takedown defense isn't that good. He actually really likes to get to the ground, use his front headlock series, a lot of triangles, darces from underneath there. But against the black belt in Moises, Moises really thrives on the ground. He tends to get the fights there. He's got a capoeira background. We'll throw some spinning shit in there every once in a while. He throws more looping punches, but lands with more power than Turner. I do like Turner's elbow in all of these exchanges. I think they could play a factor. But if it gets to the ground at all, I do think Moises has a big advantage, as do many people here. That's why he's a minus 200. Evil Twins in on this one as well. And it's really that lack of takedown defense. Jalen Turner is just way too comfortable in all of his fights because he will, instead of fighting off the takedown, he'll throw an elbow and try to get that knockout. But then all of a sudden, he's got a legitimate black belt on the ground, and he's folded underneath lesser grapplers. So that's why Moises, give me a submission round number 2. I could move it up to round number 1 in here. Still a fight of the night contender. All sorts of craziness could happen. Who do you think you're taking in that one?
I love your Moises submission, and if I'm gonna change this fight around at all, I could totally see myself leaning into that as it goes. I think Jalen Turner's a little better on the ground than Michael Johnson as far as that goes, but Thiago Moises is just getting next level. He's one of like my favorite guys to watch. He would be in there he might be my new Shabazian. Well, I don't want to sell out any one lost person. I want to be like you, or at least stuck with Nardiev until he wasn't there anymore, and I think it'll be best for him. I think he'll come back better for it.
Absolutely.
And we've seen a lot of guys that have been our favorites leave the UFC for a little while and come back. Anyways, nothing to do with Thiago Moises. He's one of my favorite dudes. I love him everywhere, and it's a shame because I love Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is such a great underdog fighter, and no one ever knows who he is. He's pretty well-rounded everywhere. I like him actually better than some of the people. I just think Michael Johnson's kind of on his way out But some of the other wins that Moises has, when I look at the losses that Moises has, when you look at Dariush now as being one of the losses, you're like, what's that? Dariush is shot out of a cannon pretty much since that point. Ismail Gulov, I also love him too, so that loss doesn't really burn me. When I look at losing to Frivola, that doesn't make me excited. Losing to Frivola. Were we at that fight?
No, we were at the Luis Pena fight.
Losing to Luque does not bother me at all for Jalen Turner. I don't think
Absolutely.
Moises is as good as Luque is, but he's close. He's like a little.
He's a lesser Luque.
I
I absolutely think you're right.
Yes, I was
He's
thinking.
absolutely a lesser Luque.
I just want to. It's like he's a little lesser. He's a little lesser on the feet, better on the ground, but lesser Luque.
No, I would say he's just worse on the feet than Luque, but the same on the ground, where he's super nasty on the ground, where that's even, but it's just
I think he's a little better than
power
Luque on the ground.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's not
just
bad.
a little.
That's not wrong.
Yeah, no. But I just really like Moises. I like your submission. I have Moises' decision right now because I'm giving some respect to Jalen Turner. I want to move it now, even hearing myself say he's a little better than Luque on the ground to submission. And I also think because of the good striking, Jalen Turner, does he have quit in him? Is that why I want to go with submission a little bit? I'm going to go with, I want to say round 3. But if you know you're going to quit, why go into round 3? So I'm going to go with round 2. Moises sub round 2.
Wow, put a bet on that because that's what I had from the start. We're going sub round 2 all the way around at LaTB Studio up in this beast. The FPC kicking off strong on DraftKings. You're going to end up paying for the minus 215 favorite. Thiago Moises coming in at 9,000 against Turner 7,200. Do you think you're going to put Turner anywhere for that cheap? Do you think he has a fighting chance?
I don't see him. I don't see his finish potential anywhere.
Kind of agreed with that.
And I don't
it's
see his
much more limited.
Yeah, I don't see he's a guy that lays out tons of shots. The only advantage I give him in this entire fight is reach advantage. But with a guy like Thiago Moises, that just means you have a little more appendage for him to snatch up and get a submission on.
Absolutely. So I'm with you on that one as far as that's concerned. Then we
Evil
go
Twin
to
talked about that fight a little bit. What did
He did.
Who did he have?
He had Moises submission. I couldn't remember the round though.
Okay. All right.
But
well, last time we all went with the 3. All 3 had it. What he said it. He said Cheeto. We all 3 had Cheeto, which was a huge underdog.
That BS story of him telling them. I said that literally right on our podcast? Like, thank you. I was like, I see an ankle injury happening in this. He's got a weak ankle.
Maybe sometimes when he watches the show, he thinks it's him saying it.
I get to. He's like, oh, it's a mirror. That must be me.
He shows his friends. He shows his friends, and he's like, "Look, I said it." He cuts me out, and he's like, "Look, I said it."
Can't believe the whining federation out there, always looking to undermine my authority, for sure.
Undermine my authority.
But a really fun one in here, one that we had the evil one talking about as well. We had Michel Pereira coming against Zelim Imadaev. Imadaev coming in with an 8-2 record, a 2-fight losing streak. His first 2 in the UFC, losing them to Max Griffin and then to Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts via TKO 9 months ago. Who is he? He trains with Frankie Edgar, who is Ray Longo. Is it Longo, Sarah? No. God, I know where he trains out of. He's training in the States. I might be out of Longo up in that area. But either way, Imadaev came in being known as... If you need some time to think
about it.
Oh, Mark Henry. He trains for with Mark Henry. So he's in there with Zabit, with Frankie Edgar, with that crew of guys. And when he was debuting in the UFC, they called him Mini Zabit. So or no, they called him Zabit 2.0. That was his debut in the UFC. He came out as a huge favorite. Is really just kind of an anti-wrestler boxer in there. Has okay hands, not the best chin. Gas tank isn't as good as most wrestlers that we see coming out of Russia, and is really just looked like he wilts. That's what happened against Roberts, and wasn't able to translate the power against Roberts, who we said hasn't had a chin in years. Really interesting that he wasn't able to put him away. And against Pereira here, he's got a ton of power. He came in on a huge win against Hot Chocolate Roberts with that nasty finish, was able to eat those shots. He's a big fighter that's fought at heavyweight, but that was in an open series over in Korea. He has fought at 185 and got wins. He's a madman. He does the black flips. He does the spinning, kicking stuff. He actually showed in his last fight against Diego Sanchez after that Tristan Colonelli fight where he gassed out that he could put a game plan together. And Diego Sanchez was getting 30-26 in there. Diego Sanchez was getting beat everywhere. Pereira was stuffing those takedowns, beating him, striking, almost knocking him out. But Pereira, instead of going for the finish, he would back up and just keep striking or out grappling Diego. Mickey Gall couldn't do that. There's multiple other fighters that Diego Sanchez has ground out as of late. So it's not a bad loss.
Mickey
It was a
Gall's
DQ.
boo. I just have to say it. Mickey Gall's
Truth.
boo.
Truth, you're absolutely right there.
But he
Diego
might be one of those dudes, in my opinion, like we just were talking about, that if he went to Bellator for a few fights and came back, I might be into Mickey Gall. I just think he needs a little less competition. It was too much too soon. He was like, I'll fight CM Punk. That's what.
Right.
So.
And probably what I should have seen in that is they're like, man, this kid sucks so much. CM Punk might be able to beat him.
Yeah.
And now he has a career in the UFC. So Pereira, though, in here, I really liked his tempered measurement. He had a game plan. He stuck to it. Other than that knee, other than that, he was putting together a good game plan. And I think he has way more power than Imadaev. Imadaev isn't going to look to get it to the ground. If he does, I think Pereira is way more dangerous with his triangles and literally with those heel kicks. Anytime Pereira's on the ground, he's throwing those up kicks as hard as he can in there. And I think I'm going to end up going TKO round number 1. Pereira, I know that that's a bit of a hype train. I know a lot of people are, saying, check your brakes, but I don't think Imadaev is UFC caliber here. I think that he was more of a namesake than anything, and we've started to see chinks in the armor in some of these Russian fighters. And I think Imadaev is soon to be out of there, and they are again putting highlights, as Evil Twin was saying, together for some of these fighters. Pereira is one of those guys. Who are you taking in this one?
I actually think Pereira is a guy with shit tons of potential. He's so young. He just went in there with... He has tons of power, heavy knockout power, so he goes in and he gets a couple fights like that, and then he comes in with so much emotion, so he kind of burns himself out before he gets in the octagon. And then he tried to put together a highlight reel, and that's kind of bullshit. But we're slowly starting to see a more and more measured dude, even if it's just a tick and a tick at a time. So going in against a guy like Imadaev, who I agree with you is... Even though everyone would say Pereira's the hype train here, it's actually Imadaev. I'm surprised this line's so close. I think because of the patience Pereira showed in his last fight with Diego, I think that shows like he has the power and he's getting the skills more and more each time. So I think he's more dangerous on the ground. I think he's more explosive on the feet. I don't really see the potential of him getting knocked out. I see the more glass jaw leaning towards Aleem. So I think give me Pereira round 2. KO.
I have that around 1. I like what you're saying. I could be moving that a little bit as well.
The only reason I agree with you, like round 1, old Pereira, but I think he's just getting more and more measured and more just a little higher ring IQ. He's one of those guys that we're going to see in the top level of things in a few years. And you know what? Imadaev, I don't hate him going in the future either. These are both young, talented dudes. I kind of like both guys, but Pereira is so young. He's like kind of the future of UFC. Like when you're saying the UFC needs a future, he's a guy that could really bring it.
He definitely can have that highlight potential in many, many spots in here. But definitely on DraftKings, do you think you're going to be exposed at the 8,200 for the minus 185 favorite, Pereira against Imadaev's 8,000 even?
Yes.
That's the lock. I feel like that's the lock for me. For 8-2, the line's off as far as DraftKings. We've seen a lot of bigger splits. I don't know if this line came out early in the week and it didn't move, but the best thing about DraftKings, I feel like, in this whole last pandemic is that my stock has been going through the roof.
Your DraftKings didn't catch COVID.
Absolutely not. With the sports going on and everything, I mean, my $10 shares that I got have easily quadrupled at this point.
Oh, with your
easily.
stock. Your actual
with
real
my actual
stock.
DraftKings stock.
And for people, if they still want to get down with that, because I still think it's going to go up, up, up. And anyone that thinks because of NBA falling out or because of football falling out or whatever else is going on that DraftKings isn't going to go up, you're crazy because, you know, people that are going to gamble are going to gamble and they'll learn fighting just as easy as anything. So
they have.
What is the line they can follow? The ticker.
It is at DKNG is the stock symbol on it. It just went up to like 43 today, which is an all-time high for it finally. But we've been hanging out in like the $37, $38 range. But
if you feel like dropping it, you don't have to at all, but just because this is the kind of shit. When you first said this, if you've been a long-time listener to LaTB, when you first gave our fans this information, how much was that stock?
$10.90. I mean, I quadrupled my investment and still going to be holding on to it. Still looking to purchase more because, again,
I agree with you. Hold on to it because if anything, they're going to absorb FanDuel, they're going to Sirius XM that shit.
Right. So the reasons why they have some of the few lobbyists changing laws.
Oh, yeah. Right? Sirius and XM used to be two separate stations for you youngins out there. So that's where I think DK will eventually absorb these other things that don't have it. And like Emmanuel's saying, because of laws, there's certain states that allow gambling in their laws. But because DK has like this entertainment property with it, they're weaseling their way in to all those other states.
It's a game of skill. Everybody knows that. So, but it definitely
stock advice, DraftKings advice, Fight Pick Championship advice, life advice. You're getting it all here at LaTB.
Getting it all for a free. All we ask is for a like and subscribe. Tell your friends.
Love it.
So definitely that $60 range is what we'll get to for DraftKings. So there's still time. There is still time. Then we get into probably the most likely fight to be the fight of the night in here. We got Carl Rosa coming in against Sajara Sarge Eubank, the final lady fight of the night. This is one that I am really not looking forward. Well, I guess I am just because I want Rosa to win, just because I am a notorious Eubanks hater in there. The 13-3 fighter is coming off a 4-fight winning streak is Rosa. She has last won in the UFC, last 2 fights, split decision to Prochpio, last beating Melo in a decision. She set all sorts of records in the 135 division as far as output is concerned. Did Rosa in there. And as far as output's concerned, Sajara Eubanks, Sarge, as they call her, comes out and has had a mixed bag, being a notorious natural heel in there. The natural 35-year-old was a jiu-jitsu purple belt standout champion, won all sorts of mundials and stuff at a 165, came into the UFC, became a striker, but really is just not she's not only had weight issues, but her gas tank has notoriously not been there as much as her fight IQ. I should have bet my girl Betchy in there. I don't know why I took her. It was too big of an underdog in that fight, but Betchy showed you what to do. Keep the fight striking. Sajara Eubanks has limited boxing only ability, but IQ, and she will just stand in front of you and not do much. And on the ground, she to get neutralized, even though she is a good black belt at this point. She last came off of a win to Sarah Moras in a decision, but I hear here the specific volume for Rosa is so much higher that you got to end up going. She has a 15% higher strike acumen to the minus 3.69 absorbed for Eubanks. So Eubanks naturally loses striking bouts, and even on the ground, she doesn't necessarily always get the finish. But Rosas has shown that she's a capable grappable or in there as well. Give me Rosas' decision. This is super gross. I don't like either one of these ladies. I'm gonna stay clear away from this one. I'm pretty bummed out. It's on my Fight Pick Championships. Honestly, it's a gross one.
I'm going with Sarge. I think this is an easy pick for me. If you look at Carol Rosa and the girls that she's beating, not one of them can you pull what they look like to your head. If you look at the girls that Sanjaya Eubanks is losing to, they're all girls you can pull their faces to your brain. And so I just feel like that says something. It says that she's fighting against higher caliber UFC strikers. And we were talking shit a little bit about like LFA and Bellator getting a lot of this new blood. But as far as women go, I still think UFC is getting the top-notch women fighters. And Sanjara looked better in her last fight than she's looked in so long. She looked like she took it serious out there. Her body looked shredded to fuck. She didn't look like she had any weight issues on the scale that time. It looked like it was an easy make for her. I think she goes out there and I think she manhandles Rosa for 3 rounds. I do think Rosa could be better on the feet, but Sanjara's not going to let it get there. I think she's going to take her down every time, do some nasty ground and pound, and keep her down there the whole time. I think this is a weird underdog for me. I'm pretty sure Eubanks is the underdog. I'm going to go Eubanks decision here. I think she at least gets 2 of the 3 rounds.
Plus 140, Sajara Eubanks coming in against Cara Rosas minus 180. So almost a 2-1 favorite for Rosa there. Seeing that volume, I think, is what other people are saying there. But we have it a dirty split here for a reason. I kind of see it as a dirty split as well. I don't think Rosa comes out of it. I think 29-28 either fighter is going to go. So, coin flip, can't put minus 180 on someone that's a coin flip. So, stay clear of that one. On DraftKings, though, you're going to end up paying $8,500 for Rosa against Eubanks, $7,700. Do you think you have any exposure to Sarge on there on DraftKings for 7-7?
Yes. I think she's going to get enough takedowns, maybe 2 a round. I do see her letting Rosa up. I think she's going to be the far stronger fighter here. Yeah, I could see myself playing her on... there was another fight of a weird girl that I'm like, I could play her on 1 or 2. I would rather go with Sanjara here as my low input fighter that could sneak out a weird win. I feel more comfortable as Eubanks as my underdog, and she's a bigger underdog, so I'm like, it's more worth it.
Oh, such a disgusting fight. I'm going to be sweating that one out for all the wrong reasons, I'm sure of it. At 205 pounds, we have the co-main event of the evening, a rescheduled bout with Ovens and St. Preux coming in against Alonzo Menefield. We've already broke this one down a few times, being rescheduled multiple times. OSP popped for COVID 2 weeks ago. He's clear now, so they're getting it back on. They both stayed in Vegas, trained at the PI, which is, from what I hear, the best training place you can find. Has everything in 3 square meals a day. So really interesting what we see Menefield with a little more preparation, because he was taking this on short notice, and now he has 2 weeks to help get that gas tank there, which it was the biggest reason I was picking OSP in the first one. I think he could drag it out into that second and third round and win a 29-28 type of a fight after Menefield doesn't finish him with that blitz that he usually has in that first round. As we usually said with the Fortis fighter here, Menafield has tons of knockout power, but was exposed against Devin Clark where he was out grappled 2 months ago. Some people say he can make a big change in his wrestling in that time. Others don't, especially at 32 years old. I am more on the at 32. I don't see the biggest changes, especially when it comes to grappling. So I think we're solid with what we get as far as takedown defense with Menafield. It's all the gas tank. And again, this being rescheduled only benefits Menafield in this spot. So I think I gotta go with Menafield. I don't like it because I have OSP decision on my card right now. Going OSP decision minus 105. Give me OSP 29-28. I gotta watch weigh-ins for this one. I could be subject to change. This one, super sketched out on. Hate that it's on the Fight Pick Championships. I could wake up, go Menafield tomorrow. Ugh. I got a decision
Okay,
either
here's
way.
some questions because I don't know where I'm going with it either. Obviously, if you listen to the show, I had St. Preux last time too, and I think I had St. Preux by a decision. I might have had St. Preux by a submission round 3 because he plays possum. He covers well. I think he can wear him in a field out and take some big shots early. The guys that he's losing to, far more caliber. It makes me more nervous the more time that Menifield's had to get ready for this. And even though St. Preux lost to Ben Rothwell, does it matter to you that he lost to Ben Rothwell at a heavyweight?
No, if anything, I like the chin that OSP showed in that because Rothwell with size hits real heavyweights are known to hit hard. Mm-hmm. So I like that OSP. Even though he's cutting the weight, he's still got a solid jaw. His jaw's still not, he's not glass jawed.
Yeah, I kind of think that too. And I also think that sometimes we hear the guys when they're way out of their weight class, especially from like 205 to heavyweight, they don't feel the get up for the fight when they don't have the weight cut before it. They've never not had that in their body. So there's something that lacks a little there. Maybe I'm being biased a little. I want to pick OSP again. I see everything about Menafield being right here. I see everything about Menafield being dangerous. If you ask me who has a bigger glass jaw, Devin Clark or OSP, I say Devin Clark all day. You all can pretend, you can not see what you don't want to see. I still see the real Devin Clark. And when he gets up there to those higher caliber people, we're going to see it again. We've just seen him bear people, and everyone remembers his legs. And so, yeah, I just don't think Devin Clark ain't all that, and he hasn't shown me too much yet inside the octagon. And I don't know if I'm just drinking the haterade, the Devin Clark haterade. So Menafield, that loss to him was a big, huge, whoa. If you couldn't get one good shot off on Devin Clark to knock him out or get him hurt enough to do anything of damage, I got to give OSP a little bit of credit here that he could burn you out in the first round. And if you're not safe with OSP, if you come in wild or if you lose a little bit of your strength in the first round, I think OSP can get a couple of leg kicks in too. I think you could be caught up in an OSP sub. Shit, this is the hardest fight for me to pick out of every fight tonight.
Super tough one.
But I don't see a decision. I think it finishes by submission or a knockout. It's Menafield by a knockout or St. Preux by submission. And it's just because if St. Preux does turtle up, take some big shots, plan everything right, go into that second round, let Menafield take the first round, take some of the power out of him, go into the second round and do what we see him do where he looks like he's he plays possum and then he comes back and gets a 3-strike combination and then gets the guy into a wacky thing. The thing I don't like about OSP, it's almost like he sets himself up to lose a decision and wait for that flash submission. That's where I can't go with him.
you're
I don't
right
see
there.
him wrestling the same way I see Devin Clark grinding out. It's just like he's looking for that flash sub. He almost has that Paul Craig about him with a little more talent and skills. He's just higher caliber. It makes me lean toward Minifield. Like, he wants to plan things out. He wants to prove himself. I think he is new blood in the UFC. I'm going to go with Minifield knockout. I think he does add up some good body shots. I think OSP, I don't see him with great takedowns. He has to catch somebody with that Von Flue choke. None of us ever see it coming. So give me Minifield. I'm going to go knockout round 1.
Wow. Talked your way out of that one for sure. Definitely like how we saw the process and the gears turn there. So weigh-ins is going to be crucial on that one as well. On DraftKings, the slight favorite -120, Menifield 8,300 against Stovincent St. Preux 7,900. Even money right now as far as the betting line. Actually plus 110 on the real live line for OSP. So buyer beware. DraftKings, it's right in the middle. I think the actual you got to have both sides of it because they both are live for the finish. They want it's submission or knockout, as you're saying. But I'm going decision in that one. So creepy, crazy, weird, gross fight. And then we have the main event at 265 pounds, where
I have
Alistair
one weird
Overeem comes
question.
in
I don't know
against
if you could
Sakai.
even pull it up in front of you. What weird question?
Go for it.
When was the last time OSP won a decision?
Oh, not. Let me see. I know I can pull that up.
And if
It's
you,
not going to be
we can even give you
at.
pull-up music.
Sultan!
Oh, I can't blow my hands up.
I'll do it.
So OSP's last decision is going to be officially a Von Flue choke. No. Straight arm lock. Wow. Decision. Rafael Cavalcante 2016. 4 years ago.
Wow.
Wow. And that's only one decision. Before that, he even had all knockouts and submissions. He's gone to decision 4 times in his career. Four times.
You're really putting it out there by going with the decision. I'm just trying to
That's a
save
good
your
call.
fight pick championship. It ain't worth it either because it's less points.
Well, that's what he won. He won a decision. He's lost. His losses are mainly decision as well. That's how he loses splits. He can't win a split to save his life.
So that's where I would say, since the points are so much less for a decision on the fight pick championship than they are for going with the knockout or submission, don't pick that D with OSP. That would be my fight pick championship piece of advice to everyone out there this week. And if I'm going to tell it to you, then everybody, hey, that would be my...
You might be changing my mind to Menifield KO. The research is going to keep
even if you go with him, even if you think it's going to be him, just pick a sub.
Right.
I don't want to change your whole pick because I think
it's nuts. There's been so much tape study, so much contender series, so much underdog stuff, so many debuters. I'm floating in a world of MMA right now, and it's just kind of a fog right now. It is a good fog, though. A very hazy, purple, stanky fog.
I was just about to say, that's marijuana. That ain't MMA. That's marijuana.
So, the main event's going to get extra stanky here with Alistair Overeem against Augusto Sakai at 265. We know what we're getting with the longtime veteran, the Reem at 46-18 against Augusto Sakai's 15-1. I have been making a ton of money on Sakai, coming out at 6'3". I know he's been at Black House. I know he's been training in the States. I don't know specifically with who. Last beating Ivanov in a dirty split, beating Tybura in a TKO, Arlovsky, Sherman in a TKO. Sakai is a Muay Thai striker, likes that Thai clincher plum, the behind the head reach, goes for the knees well there, even has good elbows out of that clinch there. But his serviceable takedown defense has really been against limited competition, and it hasn't been that good. I feel like better fighters can easily start to take him down once they really start chaining on there. And I feel like there is definitely a grinding grittiness to Sakai where I feel like people have hit him with a 2x4 in the head and he keeps walking. He just keeps walking forward, pushes you up against the fence, and turns it into a dirty boxing type of a match. Where here, Alistair Overeem is crafty enough to be able to circle out of those positions, lands his jabs in, land his low kicks on the ground. If Overeem gets this to the ground, he is by far such a better fighter that that would only be the smartest thing to do, and it should be a submission round number 2 or 3. But Overeem's chin is something that is always going to be on the table, and Sakai in that clinch. Even though they're not the strongest shots, he can rattle Overeem at this stage of his life. Not only is he talking about retirement, as Evil Twin was saying, but he just realizes like there's a limit here, and he's been fighting since he was 18. We saw him go from 185 to 265 on horse meat. That's got to do a number on your heart, and he's been finished arguably as many times as anyone. I think he's up there for the most finished losses in the UFC history, or overall history overall. Like when he loses, it's by knockout. So always got to put that up there, but the advantages are just so vast. It's essentially a puncher's chance for Sakai here. I think Overeem has all of the advantages other than the chin. So for that fact, I got to have 10% exposure to Sakai regardless of what it is. But I am going to be going with Alistair Overeem via submission. I'm going to go round number 2. I'm going to say the smart thing. If he's saying it, he's not going to go in there and try to strike. He's going to be like, let me take this guy down and guillotine him. I'm really good at that. I won Pancrase with that. Let's do that.
Isn't that what we always say about Overeem, though? Is
Every
why doesn't
time.
he take someone to the ground?
Every time. And he did it to Walt Harris after he almost got finished. He finally took him down and ground and pounded him.
I do like everything that Overeem's been putting together over his last few fights, and I know that's crazy to say at 40. Walt Harris, we saw him at a really weird situation. That was quick work. And then the Rosenstruck, he's a hype train to me that never, it's almost like he built the hype train off that knockout with Alistair Overeem. Sakai kind of has that kind of power. That Rosenstruck has. I gotta think Overeem's more talented, but the UFC is really pushing for Sakai. Sakai's not a 5-round fighter, right? We haven't seen him in a 5-round fight.
We have not. The broadcast says it ended.
Huh. Weird. I still have it running
Wonder if
on
we
my
hit a
side.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but it's saying my actual. Sorry, we haven't seen him in a 5-rounder
Did
there.
we fall off Twitch?
I'm looking at it says live, but the actual image said the stream has ended on my as far as where I was chatting with people there for a bit.
Oh, well, let me check it out. Let me see. I feel like I see us live on air right now, but maybe it's old. Huh. Hold on, everyone. I'm going to stop stream and start it again without stopping record. And our lovely audience is used to production problems sometimes, because what am I, Steven Spielberg? No, I don't touch children. And that wasn't even streaming. That was just a little extra for the LaTB audience. And you can tell me if we come back on live, but for the regular LaTB audience, there's big changes coming up. You know, we like to keep it changing and like fresh always. Around here, like always. Yeah. So I don't know how much we want to include them in with or tell them as we need to, but we might be changing the name of the podcast because of censors and everything that happened way back when by being lesbo and bean, and you know, we are in cancel culture world, and we thought it was going to be something we could fight back against, but the internet is like, no fun. So we get banned on some things because of that name. So we might be changing the name and changing the look, but we will keep you guys updated with everything. And we've told you guys we were going to change the name, I feel like, for years, but then we got lazy about it.
We switched it soft. We went soft and went LaTB to just kind of be like, okay, well, we'll keep homage, but yeah, we just kind of got to distance ourselves from it, unfortunately, in this PC culture.
Yeah.
So,
But we're going to go hard in the paint. And our oldest fans can always call us that because it'll be really funny in chat rooms for you guys to jump in and they'll be like, damn, they just called her a lesbo. And we just want a kind of a new, fresh look and everything. And we've been working on it for a while, and maybe some of you know about it already, maybe you don't, but so you'll see that coming, and we'll be dropping it on both streams simultaneously, so we'll give you guys enough chance to get over there without missing out on the content. So we'll keep you informed, and that will be probably coming to you maybe through September. And it won't all happen at once. It'll be all the way through. We're like Joe Rogan going to Spotify.
The money is obviously why.
It's close to the same. So
we got a little less on the contract.
Just a small amount, but it's going to be like that kind of changeover where you guys might have to like cancel one stream, upload another stream, but it's all going to be the same content. And if you have both streams and you listen to them, you'll be like, oh, this shit's all the same. And you'll be able to drop one, but eventually Lappy MMA will be gone. But we'll give you plenty of time to know about that. And you'll be able to always follow us on Zoltanite at Twitch. So yeah, we don't have to be done with it yet. I just wanted to drop that info before we got out of there. So Zoltanite on Twitch, so we have to say this.
Zoltan!
Okay, so I think I'm going to go with Overeem decision.
I actually have Overeem decision as well. I want that submission to happen, but Sakai's a tough guy. He's a grinder in there, and he's not going to quit. He's just outmatched, and it's just that puncher's chance. So on DraftKings, I think I'm going to go with the minus 195 hit favorite, 8,800 against Sakai 7,400. I do feel like Overeem's an option here. I'm more comfortable doing OSP as an underdog, doing who's another Turner as an underdog, and or De Lima potentially, than I am Sakai.
Yeah, the weird thing about Sakai, if there was some bet you could make, he's not going to get finished. I don't see Overeem as getting a knockout, any potential here. I see on Tapology.com, the site we use to do all of our picks, I see that that's the heaviest favorite. Overeem knockout is how most people have it finishing. I just don't see that. I see Sakai's a young enough dude, and he's getting better and better and better. And plus, like you're saying, he's a grimy fighter. He is hard. I just can't see him getting finished in there.
I got a decision as well. So I don't think you're wrong there. Throughout the night, is there any spots we talked about it?
Oops, I didn't even mean to touch that. That was all on
perfect timing.
That was the Angels did that. Let's see. Underdogs. I have so many throughout the night. I like Cole Smith a little bit.
Tons. Maybe it's just the lock of the nights, the people that we think are going to be the best. I feel like for me, it was definitely going to be Pereira, Kelleher, but a lot of people. Well, it's Pereira at 8,200 on DraftKings. It's Pereira.
I know it's a weird one, you guys. It is weird. I think you put a little Sarge on there. You pepper some Sarge. It's a weird one, but I just think
it is a weird one.
She's a little better. She's gone against a little better caliber of fighters.
She has, absolutely.
I might stay away from Vincent Peru Minifield on my tap or on my DraftKings.
I'm going to have exposure to both sides because I think it's a finish either way, as we're kind of more You're talking me out of it. The decision either side, it's a knockout or a submission or a knockout for OSP, but it's a finish. So I think it's 10 and 10% as far. But again, as we're saying, Evil Twin saying it, everyone's saying it. Enjoy the fights. Don't put heavy money on it. Don't put the rent on it. You need it for rent before anything else. So do that. And we got many cards on the way. We got many other spots. There's some fun little shots here and there, but this is not a heavy bettable card.
I 100% agree. This is a sit back, enjoy the fights, have a chill weekend. Maybe if you're up late with insomnia, you turn into Fights of the Round Table and you congratulate one of the people from LaTB for coming in first place. And yeah, I guess be safe out there. Take care of your neighbors. Love each other a little bit. I realized my new thing, instead of peace and love, I like truth and love. Truth and love.
So definitely something we could all use. Thanks everyone for being on the streams at World Winning Federation, being OG in there from the start till the end. MMA Mark showing up, buddy. All those guys. Thanks for repping.
I just
JGzer, I'm
want to
sure.
tell you real quick. I'm going to stop recording after you do our sign out, and this is more production talk for the people at home that are listening to this on audio. And then you can send our stream to somewhere else. We can raid someone. So I'm not going to stop the stream, even though I'm going to stop the recording. Okay? So thanks for listening, everyone. I love you. Truth and love, truth and love.
Let me